Ways to deal with it. Okay. Sige, first, be aware of our cognitive biases, either our own or existing sa team nyo ngayon, sa organization nyo ngayon, sa chapter or sa region that you are in, the department that you are in. Analyze, di ba? Think about it logically. Be open about it na what are the biases that I have as a person and what are the biases that exist in our team. Next is observe your own behavior. So, you know that you have certain biases, let's say very basic beauty bias or let's say gender bias because you're not, you grew up in a family wherein you're not so open with, other gender preferences. So observe how are you dealing with people who are in that, group, or let's say how are you dealing with people, or let's say customers or patients or people that you service with na parang one would come as presentable and the other not presentable. Observe, meron bang difference sa behavior mo, and if you spot that difference, be open to quickly change it. Okay. Next, pay special attention to biases protected by laws and policies. Okay, guys. So we know that there's this anti-discrimination, especially, the equal employment opportunity, when it comes to gender, right? Let's say we also are protected by laws yung mga special ability, right? That could point out to possibly pa mga harassment or discrimination. So we have to be mindful of that kasi we're not just bound to our personal morals na or parang team or policies, 'di ba? But it's governed by certain laws or rules and regulation within, let's say, DOH, or even you're bound to or be answerable to the laws of the land. And widen your social circle. We have been discussing this, right? Most of the suggestion on how to manage our biases is to be able to reach out, talk to more people, engage to people that you don't get to interact with on a daily basis, diba? Get to know them. Challenge assumptions and stereotypes. Yes, you have these assumptions and stereotypes, but maybe they're wrong, right? Try to learn from those people around you, especially the people that you trust as well. Practice rotations. Yesterday I've heard this as one of the suggestion din eh. Like there was a discussion that some people are burdened, some people naman they don't feel the sense of satisfaction because they don't feel na they're contributing to the team. So probably you could do rotation of task, right? Para rin hindi tayo maging too familiar with the things that we do and we still find that self-worth. And then at the same time, the others are given that opportunity to shine. For example, the contrast bias or the contrast effect that we had earlier, that you're comparing one person versus the other, magkaiba naman pala yung assignment nila. What if you switch them? Diba? You might see or you might find a way na parang, ito palang si Nova, magaling pala siya sa ganitong task. Dito pala siya nag-shine versus in other tasks that I was able to assign her before, medyo may struggle siya doon. Alright, speak out if you notice bias in your team, especially from your leaders, right? You have to start to be comfortable, speaking up, right? Speaking out if ever you notice that there are things that, it seems that it's not going, the right direction. Parang iba to dun sa na-discuss natin about, diversity or being open to it, right? So you might want to open that discussion, starting, let's say, with, the HR team, or let's say even your leaders or your direct reports. Parang pwede nyong discuss yun na parang we noticed that this person is kind of excluded. What can we do? Or you yourself, you try to reach out. And apologize if you get it wrong. Okay lang po na magkamali. Okay? We will get it wrong. Kasi nga, we already have that preconceived notion. Our brains are wired to certain, biases, stereotypes, prejudices, right? Then, if you get it wrong, just say sorry. For example, na mispronounce natin ang name ni Ma'am Now, Naomi, ganyan. O mag-sorry tayo. Yan. 'Di ba? So we can just apologize, and it's okay, guys, to be vulnerable, to be humble, especially sa leaders, kahit ano pang title natin. You know that our team members, the people who look up to us, they will admire us more if they see that we are vulnerable, we are humble, and we're walking the talk. No? So it's okay. It's okay if we don't get it right all the time. And ito po, one reminder, avoid the paralysis of analysis. Yung analysis paralysis na sinasabi nila, overthinking tayo, masyado ng overthinking, right? And, we find out later na, yung overthinking ko pala is not helping me, right? Instead of overthinking, why don't you just ask? Ask the person directly, talk to that person. Kasi naman isip na isip ka, ay, bakit kaya kanina si Sir Peter, ganun yung, ano niya sa akin, yung sinabi niya sa akin. The way that, he mentioned it, I didn't like how he said it eh. Maybe he doesn't like me, or maybe, he's mad at me, right? So you think about it, you for days, right? You even lost sleep. Tapos every time na you bumped into Sir Peter, you talk to him, parang, ano ka, walking on eggshells ka, or you're too conscious. Yan pala, wala lang pala yun kay Sir Peter, 'di ba? Parang for him, it was just, parang na tumaas lang yung boses niya, or possibly hindi rin siya aware pala na hurt ka niya. So when you start talking to each other, wala naman pala siya. So you just wasted worrying for how many days. So I just want to share with you a quote here from the founder of, a company. It says here, everyone should feel responsible for creating an inclusive and equitable spaces. When we say that one group is in ownership, others can shrug off any responsibility and say, well, that's not my problem. So guys, just a reminder, creating a diverse, inclusive, and equal or equitable workplace is not the job of your HR. It's not the job of your leaders alone. It's each and everyone's responsibility and job, right? You guys all have that authority to influence your workplace to be diverse and inclusive. So it's not just one person, one department, or just your leaders alone. Ay, di ko naman ano yan, role yan. Parang wala naman akong power to do that, right? If contributing yung mga daily actions natin and the way that we interact with each other, all of those sum up will help us create a more diverse and inclusive workplace. Characteristics attributed to specific groups of people. So basically, you're generalizing them, right? Depending on their races, gender, age, or group. Like yun nga, the examples that I had earlier, like for the age group or in generation, the millennials are like this, the baby boomers are like this, or let's say the gender bias that we discussed earlier, that men are generally like this, women are generally like this. Good thing, I think we're one of those countries that are very fortunate wherein we don't have a lot of racial discrimination. In other countries, sobrang prevalent to, di ba? Yung mga Asian hate, the black, things like that, propagandas, and even crimes that are committed. So I think for our country, we're kind of more open about this, and even religions, right, or beliefs. So it says here that may or may not be true for any one specific individual within that group. Because even though, I'm a female, diba, this is already the barrier, or the stereotype has been broken down. Sino ba yung Olympiad natin recently that won a gold medal, diba? We thought that weightlifters are just for men, right? Yung parang only men have that strength to lift, heavy weight. But Heidelin Diaz actually won the gold medal and she's a woman, right? So that's something that we cannot just generalize now. Okay, women are weak or they cannot really lift, heavy objects, or even men, 'di ba? Sometimes pag namin nakita tayo na teammate natin na lalaki and we need help in, let's say, changing the water dispenser, yung container doon, 'di ba? And it's heavy, like it's 5 gallons or something. We call someone na yung first guy that we see, oh, can you help us with this? But you have to be careful because we don't know, maybe that person has a medical condition that we're actually risking his, health because we're requesting him or her to lift weights for us that we don't know of. And if you're that person naman, you speak up. I'm really sorry, I wanted to help you, but I actually I have this medical condition. I don't want to share it anymore, disclose it anymore, but I'm still recuperating from it. So you also voice it out because baka nahihiya ka lang, gusto mo makisama, you want to conform, right? And you don't want to be labeled na, ay, ano ba to? Ayaw niya akong mag-help, right? So he doesn't want to help, or he's rude. Then you just lift that, and then later on, you're at the hospital na or the clinic, or you're not feeling well the following day. Okay. Next is implicit bias. This one we already discussed this as well. It's the same as cognitive bias or unconscious bias. Again, subconscious attitudes, perceptions, or stereotypes that influence our understanding, action, and behavior when interacting with various identities. Right. So we have to be aware of it, just like what we did earlier, be educated, and learn how we can manage them. This one, it's very, very important nowadays. Okay, they even coined this term already, microaggression. It's a subtle verbal or non-verbal insults, indignities, or denigrating messages directed toward an individual due to their marginalized identity, often committed by well-intentioned people to tayo, right? Because we wanna claim that our intentions are really good, right? Who are unaware of the hidden messages conveyed or the impact of their statements. So a workplace, it's a professional environment supposedly, then you're not supposed to pass on those comments, even though you mean well, right? Because probably that's something that people won't appreciate. So before you say something, siguro what we can do is you try to repeat it to yourself. Like, if I say this, how will this be received by the people or the person that I'm sharing this comment with? Yan, right? Or sometimes, again, kanina, it was mentioned, di ba, if we got it wrong, just apologize. Let's say, naging after effect na yun, parang nasabi mo na siya. Diba? O mag-sorry ka, "Uy, sorry na-realize ko kanina baka yung sinabi ko it didn't sit well with you guys. Sorry because I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I will try to do better." Right? Kasi that's the starting point You say it, tapos you correct it, right? You say sorry. Eventually, when you're so used to it, when you're so aware of your comments, your judgment, or even your nonverbal expressions, right, then it would be easier for you na next time you won't even have to say it or utter the words. You can already control yourself na even before you express it. Okay. So just recap again, microaggressions are like could be verbal or non-verbal. It could result to like stress, a hostile or stressful environment, It could even lead to person feeling discriminated, harassed, right? It could be a demeaning, comment, right, or an insult we don't even realize because it's just slight or unintentional, right? And ano lang siya, just that's just basically how the culture ask us to behave, but at the same time we're not too conscious about how other people will feel or even ourselves, right? So again, if we get it wrong, right, just apologize and correct yourself, right? But make sure that you do better next time, because if you just keep on getting it wrong every time, parang people will stop believing na rin your apology, 'di ba?